Welcome back to the channel. This has not been a good era in X-Men. Really, it's been the worst era in X-Men history. We've got Sins of Sinister #1 this week. Kieran Gillen coming off the heels of Axe Judgment Day, and now he's got another event. Didn't really seem warranted at the time. It wasn't something I was looking forward to, although it certainly played into some of the things laid out in House of X Powers of 10 from Jonathan Hickman. And we get the first issue this week, and I must say, Doc, I'm not eating crow here, but I actually like the issue. I think there's a lot of good stuff going on here.
I did not hate this comic book.
So this is your favorite version of Mr. Sinister, Kieran Gillen. You've been very vocal about not liking his version of the character. I did not expect this to go so well.
No, neither did I. Every time that he's touched Sinister over the years, it's made Sinister worse, in my opinion. This was something I was really, really not looking forward to, and I surprisingly enjoyed it.
There are some moments in here that's really like knockout, like hit it out of the park type of stuff. We'll get to that. There are a few things I don't like about the comic book. I'll give it like a 4 out of 5, something like that. I definitely recommend it. When we open up, we can see that there's something wrong with the X-Men. Some people have diamonds on their head. It's clear that Charles Xavier has been infected with Sinister or whatever. After he's been thrown into purgatory, they're having a big council meeting and all this. You know what was weird here, Doc? Was hearing Charles Xavier under the influence of Sinister, becoming like a Sinister agent or whatever, actually talking about all the stuff that's been wrong with Krakoa. Like, I agreed with him.
Yeah. All of the things with all of the ways that all of the characters have acted wildly out of character for the last 3 years is finally being addressed. I have an issue with the fact that they didn't address this or even hint at it for 3 years. But hey, better late than fucking never.
Yeah, so it was really cool stuff. I was like, hey, this is kind of engaging. I'm tired of seeing quiet council meetings, but that's really neat. And then it really picks up when we see Ben Ulrich go and visit J. Jonah Jameson. He's going to do a test on J. Jonah Jameson to see if he's been compromised. And Ulrich had discovered that the X gene that they're trying to put into everybody that so they can be resurrected or whatever is actually compromised itself. It's a Trojan horse created by Mr. Sinister. He's the only one that knows. That was really good stuff. I was like, this is dynamic storytelling, and it actually makes sense.
I disagree that it makes sense. I feel like that they should have connected it with the stupid flowers that they've been forcing on people, because that's where it would have made sense. Like the flowers were putting an
If they did the flowers, then the entire world would have already been compromised.
No, I understand that.
They're tying it directly to resurrection is being the thing that actually compromises and fucks up with the mutants, and they need everyone to get an X gene.
The X gene part of it kind of came out of nowhere. It was just
how would Sinister fuck with the plants? He works with the genetics of mutants.
That would be part of the mystery. But regardless, I feel like the X gene thing just seemed really thrown in there just to make it work, because that's how Kieran Gillen does things. He just shoves stuff in. That being said, it was a cool idea, and I like the way that it's gonna move the plot forward. I love that.
I thought it was good storytelling. I thought it all made sense. I was like, yeah, if Mr. Sinister wants to take over the world, he's going to have to do it doing genetics from the mutant's perspective, and then get everyone to take in the X gene so they can become immortal. And this is kind of the plan going forward. Unfortunately for Ben Ulrich, J. Jonah Jameson has already been turned, and he doesn't make it out. So the world doesn't know, but we know as the reader what's going on. And then we see some of the compromised mutants on Krakoa decide that they need to destroy Krakoa as part of a plan. They end up taking out a bunch of characters that they don't like that haven't been affected in order to make everyone go to war and side with the X-Men against Orcus.
Absolutely. I mean, they have a big, kind of shady plot where they're going to run a false flag operation, space laser that I guess lobotomizes Krakoa as, its consciousness, so that they now have an excuse to go after Orcus and to get the entire planet on their side. They get
the Avengers they say, hey, we need your help.
Yeah.
They're trying to kill us. We're homeless now.
And now they convince the X or all of the humans, because now they've taken, they've given humanity resurrection and then taken it back away and blamed Orcus for taking it away. So the human population gets behind them. So they go and they just take out Orcus. They take out the Nimrod and the Moira bot that's on the station. Pretty much eliminate that threat, except for some stragglers that had managed to make their way, but 90% of the threat is gone.
And this is where it gets really devious, because with all the stuff that happens, they take away resurrection for humans. The only way a human can get resurrected now from the X-Men is if they get the X gene itself. And all of this has been an elaborate plan for the X-Men to convince humans around the world, including the Avengers themselves, to take the X gene, take the vaccine. It almost felt like Kieran Gillen was an anti-vaxxer. This is what Cyclops was saying, trying to get Captain America to take the vaccine. Their propaganda confused a lot. It's a shame. Our elective X gene is the safest way to ensure the minds are saved, but prejudice is hard to overcome. Maybe this disaster will encourage more to take the gene, and then we see the two holding each other saying, we're in this together, and Captain America agrees to take it.
Yeah, there's definitely some irony here because, well, I'm pretty sure Kieran Gillen was one of those, you got to take the shot.
Maybe
thing.
He doesn't realize what he was saying, but that's how it read.
Yeah, I don't think he realizes. I don't think he realizes what he's saying, but that is definitely how it went. And I'm like, oh, well, interesting. So, no, I mean, he manages to convince the Avengers.
They create this catastrophe to kind of guilt people in or make them think they have no choice.
All it is just Machiavellian machinations from all these sinister, compromised X-Men and Quiet Council, and it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I was absolutely shocked. And then this is where the comic book, I think, goes off. There are pages upon pages and a bunch of different artists other than Lucas Wernick that end up showing like 5-10 years worth of history of all the stuff that happens, like Namor and Dr. Doom and the X-Men joining up with the Avengers for a big fight, and then they murder the president, and all this cool stuff happens. And it's very, very interesting. When I was reading like the plan that unfolds that they're doing, my thing is I just wish this was the last 2 years of X-Men.
Yes.
I would have rather seen these events unfold over time and this thing build up, and build up instead of just jumping right in the moment and skipping past all the cool stuff.
Exactly. This is where you get the Kieran Gillen that I know and despise, where he just jumps from cool plot point to cool plot point. He doesn't have a story to tell in the middle, and all of the great storytelling and opportunities for like to build tension and to watch a long dramatic story unfold, he kicks it right in the balls and short circuits it by just showing it as, oh, and then these 3 or 4 cool plot points happen over a long period of time, but we're not going to actually tell you any of those cool build-up stories that would have made you anticipate each of those, milestones. No, we're not going to do that. Instead, we're just going to shove them into 5 pages in a row just so we can get from the part that we started at, the plot status that we started at, to the plot status I need us to be at.
Think if they started this 2 years ago and we were just finishing up X-Men Avengers War leading into this.
Yes.
I was fully cocked for this damn thing because it sounded really exciting. Unfortunately, we blow by all the interesting stuff in the middle so we can get back to the Quiet Council. And it turns out not all of the mutants are compromised at this point. Storm has figured out that Kurt is not really Kurt, that Nightcrawler is gone. Mr. Sinister finally reveals himself. They thought he was dead. They thought he had been, put into the gallows of Krakoa as a death sentence. And he's got Kurt on a leash. It turns out the genetic experimenting he was doing with him did something, turned him into a dog or something. And now Storm knows, and we're finally getting to all the stuff that's going to happen in Sins of Sinister.
Yeah, except for the fact that Storm has been wildly out of character for a long time, too. This is just their way of saying, oh, no, and Storm is still perfect and normal. No, she isn't. She's corrupted, too. We just don't know how yet. Look, it is a great way to establish Sinister as basically this massive threat that has already infiltrated almost everyone everywhere. And there's just Storm and a handful. You got the weird rock slide and a couple others that are on, Arakko, but they even blow up Arakko because they start getting into all the different chimeras, the different stages of the chimeras that had been foreshadowed for a while now. Now they just kind of throw them in. You get all this cool buildup, And now Storm's kind of leading her little brotherhood of just a handful of ragtag.
Turns out Krakoa is not completely incapacitated because he's the one that saves her.
Yeah. Well, we're not sure if it's Krakoa. It could be Arakko teleporting her away. But regardless, because they're both connected, and finding out this will be the way that they merge them back together, maybe. So, yeah, you got this kind of on the run ragtag group of mutants that are going to be fighting back against Sinister's machinations and his almost complete control of Earth and the solar system.
And then we get the big double turn here at the end, Doc. It turns out somebody's working against Sinister. He gets banished, tries to go to his laboratory because he wants to start over. He's going to use a Moira to basically start over. He's like, well, this is my end game. I need to start this over so I can do this perfectly. And somebody has infiltrated his lab. They end up blowing up and took his lab from him. So the original Mr. Sinister, I think, but who really is the original Mr. Sinister? That's the question, I guess, has been double-crossed, and someone, likely another version of Sinister, has stolen all this, and we're not undoing it.
At least not yet.
There's a 100% chance that at the end of this, it's all wiped out, Doc.
Oh, yes, there is 150% chance, just like Axe Judgment Spray, it'll retcon itself by the time we're done, because that's all Kieran Gillen does at this point. Self-retconning stories. That being said, I actually think I want to read the next issue, which I did not think I was going to say when this started.
I thought this was going to be a punishment, Doc, and I feel like I rejuvenated your interest in X-Men. I'm shocked. This wasn't even the lame-ass, really sassy Sinister, really.
No, and it was probably the least offensive Kieran Gillen Sinister. Yes, he was a little mincing and prancing, but at the same time, there were no stupid cape jokes. Yes, he was self-aggrandizing because he always is, but he was actually kind of menacing, and he wasn't a complete buffoon that was just undermined at every turn. This is him actually as a proper planner. He has a plan, he's following it, and now it was only at the end that something showed up that really took him by surprise, because everything up until then he had a contingency for, and he was able to learn from it, and he actually managed to really advance his plan. He's able to download all that knowledge into the reboot, kind of work from there to figure out what needs changed, what he needs to fix in order to take it even further next time.
Color me shocked, Doc. I was impressed. I definitely recommend this one. And if you were smart and checked out after House of X Powers at 10, this is the most interesting thing that's been released under the X-Men banner in quite some time. And this is good stuff. I'll definitely be reading the second issue.
I think I will too, which is something I've never said about a Kieran Gillen comic.
If you enjoyed this review and you're wondering, well, maybe I want to hear something else from Thinking Critical, maybe your first time or you're back, but you don't know what else you want to watch, this is the video based on what you watch and what I created that YouTube says is the perfect video directly for you. Definitely check this out right now.